Hello and welcome to this video tutorial in which we're going to see how you can add text on your product so that buyers can then customize the product as they want. For example, change the name, the initial on here on the product. So this is what we're going to do. So we're going to give the user two options, either add an initial in which he can then add the initial in a text field. For example, here I'm going to type B and it automatically shows up. He can then change the font name, for example, curly, fishtail, etc. He can change the font, and then he can also change the color if he so wants. As for the name, if we go to the name, he can here type in his name, for example, Bob or something. He can change the style for the font and also change the color for the name. So this is what we're going to create in this video. So without further ado, let's go right ahead. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new product, and this is going to be the same product, the pillow product. So here I'm going to type in my custom pillow, and in the description I'm just going to type your cozy cushion pillow, for example. And in the media section, I'm just going to upload the image that I have for the product, and this is going to be this white pillow over here. And for the price, I'm going to set a base price of $10 and a quantity also of 10. I'm going to simply click save. Now that the product is saved, I am ready to customize my product. So to do that, I can go to more actions and click on add customization options, or I can go to apps and click on the Zepto product personalizer and access it from here. So this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click on the app over here. So this is the dashboard for product personalizer. You can access everything from here, your products, your assets, everything, your templates, etc. I'm going to make this permanent. This is the new version, new design. I'm going to make it permanent and click confirm, and let's go right ahead, submit. Perfect. Let's go back, and here I'm going to click on product options, and I'm going to go ahead and customize my product over here. So search for your product on the list, and this is my product that I've just created. So either click on the product or click on the plus sign to access the product personalization options. So this is the main view of your customization. This is where the merchants, meaning you, will be able to add all the options that you want the users or your buyers to customize on the product. As for the main view, I'm just going to leave it to product image. This is the image that I've just uploaded with the product, and I'm going to leave it to product image. You can leave it at a black canvas, upload the custom image. I'm just going to leave it to product image, and I'm going to click create view. And here you can create your new elements. So the first two elements that I'm going to create, the initial and name. So what is the name of this element? And it is called button. So I'm going to need to add a button set. So here we have two buttons with two options. I'm going to click button and click create. Here I'm going to name this a something, for example, engrave style. This is the name of the label that shows up over here. This is the name of the label. And we have here two options that we're going to add. Here I don't have any option yet. This is just a dummy option that's added by default. I'm going to need to add my options so they show up over here like this. So we have two options here. This is what I'm going to do. So click on options, and here I'm going to create a new option set. So I'm going to name this option set engrave options, and in the first option I'm going to call this initial. So this is going to incur a price increase of $10. So if the user selects this option, he's going to have to pay $10 more. And let's add the other one. This one's going to be called name, and this is going to incur $20. So as you can see here, the initial option has $20 price tag and name has $30. So this is $10 over the base price of $10. So that's 20 and that's 30 because 20 plus 10 equals 30. So I'm going to click create. And as you can see, here are the two options that I've just added in my option set. So next up, I'm going to go right ahead and add the other option, and that is going to be the text field for the initials. This is where the user is going to type in his initial. So I'm going to go back and create a new element. And this time I'm going to create a text single line. And I'm going to leave this to live preview because what the user types in here is going to show up live on the products. So I'm going to leave this to live preview and click create. In the label, I'm going to call it initial. This is the name of the label for this text field. As for the default value, I'm going to select A here. As you can see, when I load the product, it shows A by default on the pillow. So I'm going to leave it to A. As for, I'm going to leave this required, no additional charge because I've already added that in the options set. So I'm going to go right ahead to fonts and characters to modify the fonts that I want to use. So as for the letter typeface, I'm going to leave it to standard. This is not a monogram, this is standard text. So I'm going to leave it to standard. And I'm going to go right ahead and add my font set. So I'm going to click create font set, and I'm going to need to add these fonts that show up on the products that the buyer can customize. So I'm going to name this, for example, engrave fonts, and I'm going to upload the first font that I want. And the first font is going to be curly. So I'm going to click here and upload the font file. So open. Fonts uploaded, so I'm going to rename this to the name that I want, so curly, for example. And let's add the others. Next up, I'm going to add fishtail. I believe it's fishtail. So wait for it to upload and then rename this to the name that you want to show on the button. So I'm going to add the other one. It's going to be called script. So 5 in total. This is script. Let's add the other one. This is going to be called tall fish. As you can see, I'm going to just remove this hyphen and I'm going to add the last one, and this is going to be called times. And that's it. So click create. And here are the fonts that I want the buyer to customize. Now, as you can see, the user can type in a letter and then customize it as he wants. I'm going to select a default font for it to be curly. So that by default, this is the fonts that's going to be selected by default. And for the font size, I'm going to set this to a big font size. So for example, 250. Let me just resize this rectangle so that the letter shows up in the entire space available, just like this. As for the case, I'm going to leave it to default. You can select uppercase or lowercase or however you want it. So I'm going to leave it to default. As for the character type, this controls what the user can type in this text field. So either he's going to be able to enter just a letter, for example, alpha only, or a letter and a number, or numbers only, etc. So here I'm going to give him the option to add just alpha only. And the max character for this field is going to be 1 because it's just one letter. So the max character, as you can see here, is 1. The user now cannot type in more than letter, even if he wants. And for the customizable font size, I'm gonna leave this font to off. You can give him the option to customize the font size as he wants. I'm gonna leave this to off. And finally, I'm just going to change this label. I'm going to call this for the initial letter. Next up, I'm going to give the options to the buyers to modify the colors. As you can see here, the user can change the color that he wants. And I'm going to add these 5 colors to the options that I have over here. So here I'm going to create a new color set for the 5 font. So I'm going to name this engrave colors. Here I'm going to add 5. So the first one is white. Let's select white, black, and then red and green, and finally blue. So I want this green color over here to be the default option. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the code for it, and I'm going to click create. And in the default color, I'm going to paste in the color code for green so that it becomes the default color in this option. So here for initial letter, I'm going to name this initial letter, and that's it. So now that's done, I'm going to click save and preview what I've just created right now. So I'm going to click here, and this is the product, this is the initial. I'm going to name, type in B, for example, and here, as you can see, I can change the font. By default it's curly. I can change the font. I can also change the color however I want. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to likewise create the name option. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, and I'm gonna go back. But before we do that, I want to add a condition over here. Why? Because initial here is going to only show these options when initial is set. So when name is set, all of these options are going to need to disappear. So here I'm going for the initial, I'm going to add a condition that says show this field when engraved style equals what initial. And in this case, if I select name, the option is going to disappear. It's only when I click initial that the options are going to appear. So likewise, I'm going to create one for the name, and I'm not going to create a new one because it's almost the same as initial. So I'm going to just click here and duplicate this option, this field, and I'm going to customize it instead. So as for the label, I'm going to name this name for the label. So it's going to show up when I select name. Let's add the condition so that it shows up over here. So in initial is selected to name. So now name shows name and initial shows initial. Now name should allow the user to type in an entire name, not just one character. So I'm going to add 10 as a max character. So now the user can type in more than one character, basically a name. So the default name is going to be John, for example. You can then customize the fonts and characters. For example, I'm going to set a lower font size over here, 120 for example. And let's modify this rectangle size so that whatever the user types as for the name, it's always going to be contained in this rectangle. And let's rename this to name, and I'm going to leave the default font for curly. I'm going to change the case to uppercase so that the name that the user types in is going to be converted to uppercase. Alpha only, so I'm not going to allow numbers, etc. And max character to 10. And let's not forget to change the label for the colors. Select color for name, and that's it. So it's changed here. So once done, just click save and you're good to go. So let's preview our final results. So here we have the two options, initial and name. So the user can type in an initial here, change the font style, and also change the color. Likewise for the name, he can type in a name and change the font style and also change the color that he wants. So this concludes our tutorial. Thank you so much for watching.